Hey guys. Okay, so this week's video, what I want to talk to you about is the draft changes to the QDC. QDC being Queensland Development Code, aka the rule book that the building certifiers use when they come to assess applications, in super duper simple terms. More specifically, what I want to do is alert those of you that aren't already aware to the fact that there is changes in the works, and to kind of encourage people and show people and guide people as to how to go about having their say on this stuff. Because so often, day to day, everyone's always bitching and moaning about the fact that the vocal minority is driving our legislation here. And to date, I think, can't remember the exact numbers, but last time I checked in with them, there was like less than 100 people, I think, that had actually written in submissions. And I was like, that is a ridiculously low number for such an important document, a document that we all use so frequently. We need to drum up some more activity or interest in this topic and get more people commenting. Now, the draft document they've got out is called the Queensland Housing Code, and it is, for short, it's going to be QHC, and it's going to replace the QDC. More specifically, it's going to replace MP1.1 and MP1.2, which in super duper simple terms is the housey sort of rules within the QDC. So yeah, basically QHC will replace the QDC. Now, what are the drivers here? What they've kind of identified, and hats off to them, love where they're going here. What they've identified is that there's a lot of discrepancies between the QDC type stuff and the planning schemes or the other legislation out there. And I was like, hell yes, there is. I mean, setbacks in planning world, they're measured to OMP less eaves, aka wall. Setbacks in QDC, they're to OMP. Carport, when it comes to QDC, is like 2/3 enclosed or something, or not 2/3 open or something like that. Becomes a carport. Not my area of expertise, don't quote me on it. But yeah, from a town planning perspective, it's a parking structure that's not enclosed on more than 2 facades. Like, you've got so many different discrepancies between this legislation. It drives me insane. Like, every day I've got building design professionals just being like, so this setback, is that a sliding variation or is that a DA? And are we 1 metre or 1.5 here? Like, which rule book do we fall under? And oh wait, is it OMP or is it not OMP? Like, there is so much confusion out there. So hats off to them to just going, hold on a sec, we've identified this is a pain point. We've identified it's leading to so much red tape and unnecessary questions and backlogs and all this sort of stuff. Let's try and get some alignment there. Let's get all these documents kind of talking in the same terms. So that's the first driver. The second driver is they've kind of identified that the document, the QDC, hasn't kind of kept pace with modern living desires, standards, all of that sort of stuff. So expectations from the community as to how our houses are designed, that's kind of gone in this direction, but the QDC's kind of stayed back here. Do I agree with that? Let's not get into that. Totally different topic. I could be here forever talking about that. But that's a driver behind part of the decision to try and overhaul this document. And then going one step further from there, they're hoping if they can get that alignment in terminology and if they can get that alignment with modern desires and all of that sort of stuff, it reduces the need for the local governments to supersede or override the QDC. So at the moment here in Brisbane, if you've got a small lot, the dwelling house small lot code actually dictates or controls setbacks and all of that sort of stuff in super duper simple terms. Whereas when it comes to a large lot over 450 square metres for a front lot, blah, 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 it actually reverts to the QDC in most scenarios. So yeah, in that situation, Brisbane City Council has gone, yep, we see your QDC rules, don't really work for us. We want to kind of vary them. We want to have our own rule book to go towards. And I think they said, and I don't remember what the number was, I'll insert it in the video later, but it's something like 55 out of 70 or 77 or something like that, councils here in Queensland actually have their own version of the rules. They override the QDC version because the QDC version does not suit their needs. Now, like I said, I love the fact that they want to get this alignment because that is a real bugbear for me. Do I think it's suddenly going to mean that Brisbane City Council is an example? And I do talk Brisbane City Council because that's where all of our work is based. Do I think Brisbane City Council is going to go, sweet, we can check out now, no longer our responsibility, you take the reins here, guys. Like, we're going to revoke our dwelling house small lot code rules, our house code, dwelling house code rules, like all of that sort of stuff. You go for it. We're just going to pass the buck to you. No, they're not going to. The reality, in my personal opinion, is that there is too many differences. There's so many differences in political sensitivities. What am I trying to say here? Basically, each local council has particular pain points, pressure points, and therefore the community expectations around that are different. So I don't think you can create this one-size-fits-all rule book that suits the entire state, because what people are used to seeing or accepting here in Brisbane on small lots is different to what people are in Toowoomba, let's say, for example, who are happy to accept on bigger blocks, or even further out west. Like, I think there is too much local variation and therefore differences in community expectations and all of that sort of stuff to succeed. So I had a client yesterday I was talking to about this stuff, and he was like, if you don't think it has any chance in hell of actually working and achieving their goal, why are you so passionate about it? Like, why are you supporting it? Why are you talking about all that sort of stuff? And I was like, progress is better than perfection, baby. Like, any progress is better than no progress. If we can just get, for example, that setback requirement, if we can just get that change so that we're all working off the same point here, oh, I'd be a happy lady. Like, that would make my life so much easier. So yeah, it's not one of those things where I think that we can achieve the full goal, but I definitely think there is a lot of value in taking even a step towards that goal. So I don't want this to come across negative. I don't want it to be like I think they're wasting their time or anything like that. The reason why I'm making this point here is I kind of want to manage expectations. I think it's better for when it comes to responding to the survey and all of that sort of stuff. I think if people are sort of aiming up here and focusing their commentary up here, it's going to be wasted effort. It's not going to create practical or realistic outcomes. So I kind of want to just temper the expectations, manage expectations and go, sure, aim for that if you want, but also address everything else in between. Don't just aim for this up here. Try and get some little wins down here, because those little wins, they would make a massive, massive difference. So I think that kind of gives you guys the intro, the context, how I want you to kind of approach this. Probably next step is for us to jump behind the computer. I can show you how to actually access the survey, what I would suggest people do when it comes to responding to the survey. Let's do this. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to go to Google and just type in Queensland Housing Code. Now, for me, it was the first link just here that I clicked on. When you go there, you'll get some information on the survey. The cutoff is the end of the month, essentially. It will prompt you to actually sign up for an account. It was really simple. I just put in my name, email address. I think that was pretty much it. Not a company. They also asked me for company. Just the basic background information. So you sign up and then you actually start the survey. Now, disclaimer, I'll say this up front, I haven't actually gone through the survey myself yet, but they did show us in this presentation what to expect. And essentially what you'll find is some questions that just say, do you basically think this rule is appropriate? So a height limit of 8.5, for example. And do you think that the council should be allowed to vary that limit, etc., etc. So there's a whole heap of guided sort of questions. And from what I understand, at the very end, there is a question that basically says if you've got any additional information that you want to give us, and that's where you can upload documents and all of that fun sort of stuff. Now, I think that covers up how to find it, what sort of questions you're going to get asked. I don't think it's that intense. There's not too many questions. They're pretty self-explanatory. But what I want to do now is talk about how to approach it. So I see this all the time in my job. Everyone, they get very siloed, they get in their own head, and they get very defensive when it comes to responding to sort of things like this. And you don't put yourself in the best position. You don't give the person that you're responding to the best opportunity to be able to help you, let's just say. So what I would like to encourage people to do is first and foremost, take a step back, get out of your own role and your own perspective and understand or ask yourself, what could they be trying to address? What is the pain point for them? Because I think if you understand that, it then sets the scene or sets you up right to be able to take the next steps. The next step from there is basically just to go, okay, can you explain to them in super duper simple terms, as if they're not in the industry and they have no industry knowledge, as to what the problem is with this criterion or this idea that they've put forward. So don't do it in a derogatory or disrespectful way. Do it in a nice, calm way that explains, yes, I can see what you're trying to achieve here. However, this is the unintended consequence, or this is how it can actually lead to bad outcomes from a design perspective, etc., etc. And then the most important part of the piece is to suggest an alternative. So I see this all the time. People are like, here's the problem. The end. Done. And it's like, that is not the best way to get an outcome. The best way is to identify the problem, explain why it's a problem in simple terms they can understand, but then also offer up a solution. So spoon feed to them, make it as simple as possible what you think the alternative way of handling it is. And like I said, go back, ask what's the pain point, what's their perspective, what are they trying to solve in all of this when it actually comes to phrasing this or explaining your perspective, let's just say. So yeah, I really want to encourage everyone to put that little bit of extra effort into explaining what their ideas are and all that sort of stuff so we can hopefully get some better action at the end of all this. Now, what else do I need to cover off? I'm going to, hopefully, if I can find the time to prioritize it, over the next few days, do a few posts on our social media, which are going to be titled like Convo starters, because there is a few topics in here from what I've seen of the survey that I'm like, oh, this fires me up. We need to talk about this. And I'm not going to bother going into it today. You will see in the Convo starters what I'm talking about. But I want to kind of put it out there and just say, okay, here's the for and against argument. Here's the pros and cons towards putting garage doors on, or doors on parking structures. Here's the pros and cons to removing legible entries to the front of houses. Here's the pros and cons to, I don't know, all the reducing or taking away the site cover requirement or increasing the private open space requirements, all these sort of things. Because I want to really encourage people to have a healthy, constructive, positive debate. Now, I'm not going to for 1 second sit here and say I know it all. I'm coming at it from my frame of reference. So I'm coming at it from a town planner's perspective who works in Brisbane on houses and all of that sort of stuff. So I'm only going to have one perspective here. And I do want to try and give that perspective, help also communicate the other side that I've picked up on, because like I said, it's about understanding other people and their drivers and all of that sort of stuff, but then throw it to you guys to say, hey, what else do you want to add to this conversation? Let's have a healthy debate here. Because, yeah, like I said before, I haven't done the survey yet. I do intend to do the survey, and I'm hoping you guys can kind of drive my thought process forward, teach me some stuff, and together we can encourage other people to fill out the survey. Because like I said at the beginning, I want to encourage everyone. They've got less than 100 responses, was it? That's a ridiculous number for something like this. We need to get the number of survey responses up so that we can help drive this change. And even if it's a little bitty, one little step forward, change it in a positive way. Okay, I think that's enough from me today. As I always like to say, until next time, thanks for watching.
For all you red tape lovers out there, I have one thing to say. Well, no, actually, I've got three. Number one, the advice provided in these videos is general in nature. It's not site-specific. You would be a silly Billy to go and make financial decisions based on this advice without first checking with the town planner. Don't be a silly Billy. Number two, Brisbane town planning is in no way linked to Brisbane City Council. The views expressed in these videos are my own, not council's. So if you don't like them, blame me, not council. Number three, what was my number three? Oh yeah, the views expressed in these videos are accurate at the time of recording. If you're watching this video back 10 years from now, the views may not be so accurate. That's all.